Alright, it's going to be a response video to Tinger. And I'm even going to make it a glass 40 because I think this is an important topic and maybe or maybe not helpful, maybe a turning point for Tinger. Tinger, Earl, malt liquor. What am I drinking actually? High Gravity Hurricane. Alright, so the history of why Tinger and I have not been getting along for over a year. Tastes so good. Tinger on Uvu one night with Gumby and some others. He got angry and he lashed out at I guess everybody, but he came off as a racist to Gumby Man, and I've been asking Tinger about it every once in a while for the last year, and actually it came up in discussion recently, which was, I thought, kind of interesting because Tinger, you thought this being a year old, people had forgot about it, but it's a year old and people are still talking about it, and I think that's an important viewpoint that you have. I think it's important that you're aware of that viewpoint. But let me tell you. You talked about getting drunk and instinctual things come shooting out of your mouth. Like someone, I guess, made fun of your YouTube channel name, and you just tore everybody a new one. Instinct. This might be kind of a long story. I'm sorry. Bear with me, dude. Because you talked about, like, Earl, everyone's saying Earl's the genius. Like, I might have some insight into human behavior. If for any other reason, I'm just old. All right, I have other credentials, but if you go to Antarctica and say you're the first person down there, and you study 40 penguins, I believe they're emperor penguins down there. I can't quite remember. You study those for 2 years, and then you publish the "I Know Everything About Emperor Penguins" book. Now someone says, well, you only spent 2 years down there and you only looked at 40 emperor penguins. So they take your book, they go to the other side of Antarctica, penguins that have never ever interacted with each other ever, and you know what they find, Tinger? Your book works. You study 40 penguins, you know penguins. We're not, as they say in the Fight Club movie, we're not individual unique snowflakes. We're very basic. There's some pretty quirky nuances, but mostly we're pretty basic human beings. So if you talk about what happens to you if you respond to something on instinct, especially when you're younger, probably what you mean is you have encountered things in life that have made it so that when you get angry, your one effective tool was to lash out at everybody and everything. This is not your fault for having that tool. It would be your fault, Tinger, if you carry that tool into your adult life. And frankly, a lot of people do, and you watch them pave themselves the hardest road you could imagine. You watch them, as Falstaff says, have failure to launch. When you get older, you are in control of the things that come out of your mouth, because you meant that to be the case. Because there's older people, all sorts of shit comes out of their mouth. It's bullshit. As you get older, you've got to realize that some powerful force of gravity warped you when you were younger. But then as you get older, you're like, I'm aware of that, and I'm getting rid of it. The brain is chemical and electrical. Chemical and electrical in such a way as you could change the accustomed pathways of thought. You could change the way you think. Say something bad happened to you. That makes you react in an angry fashion. What you do then is you reprogram yourself. When you feel anger, you decide how you're going to act. Because if you don't, anybody that can make you angry is just shoving their hand up your ass and making you into a Tinger puppet. Like watch me make this guy spin out. And anybody, if there's ever a chance that somebody feels threatened by you or somebody wants what you want, they'll use that tool to fuck you up. You know, if you're ever at a party and you're flirting with a girl and some other guy wants that girl, just needs to start a fight with you, make you look like an ass. Well, I thought that guy Tinger was awesome until he started shouting out racist stuff. I'll tell you why, another reason why you should listen to me is I think I am familiar with having things happen to me that when I have reactions and responses to things, I don't think they're the appropriate ones. So this is not necessarily a handicap. It actually might give me the edge. Actually, I have control over how I respond to things to a greater degree than most people, just from observation. For instance, I showed you the vegetables at the start of the video. My neighbor came by and provoked me. He said he was going to park his car on my lawn, and the fact that I said no was not his concern. He was going to continue to do so, and I just needed to deal with it. Now, I had a really strong, angry reaction to it. Real strong. And what I did was I stopped and thought. Because I've programmed my mind to do it. I've practiced that. If you don't forget about program, I've practiced it over and over again. I feel really, really angry right now. I need to stop and think. And a lot of that actually, if I can, a lot of that I try to respond to with the opposite way I feel, which is with humor. Someone says, "Earl Portland, what a stupid YouTube name." And I'm like, well, at least it's not Fairly Weak Ho. You know, get people laughing. But I think that guy just tried to set me off, so keep my eye on that person. With my neighbor, I stopped and thought, he's trying to provoke me and make this personal. He's going to disregard my wishes with my land, which is bullshit. So instead I said, you know, I'm getting things like house insurance for the first time, and I'm just not really clear on the do's and don'ts about home ownership and house insurance. So I thought not having your expensive vehicle on my property might be safest and simplest for me. So I'm not telling him to do it because I'm saying so. I'm telling him to do it like, well, I'm getting insurance. I'm new to home ownership. I'm paying money to make sure my home's protected. You're parking your vehicle right next to my garage. You know, what if you damage it? What if your car catches on fire? I don't know. What if someone's breaking into your car on my property and they get hurt? You know, like that. Like, am I responsible for this person breaking into your car? I don't know. It just makes me worry. So I took that, he made me angry, and I think he was trying to make me angry. And I took that and I turned it around and used it as a weapon, as a tool to put me back into control, to put me back in charge of the conversation. And it worked. Those vegetables came from his wife. It's an apology, Tinger. When you apologize, you say, sorry, I have some things going on for me that sometimes I just say the worst stuff, and I would never want anyone to say racist things to me. And I'm sorry I said those racist things to you. The fact that I was drunk or anything like that does not excuse my behavior. If you could forgive me, I'll be grateful. If you can't forgive me, just know that this is a lesson for me for the rest of my life, to always watch my tongue when I get angry. There's a story, Tinger, about a guy pounding nails into a fence. And he does it when he's angry. And then when he calms down, he takes that hammer and then he claws out the nails again. And then he noticed that the paint was wrecked, the hammer left marks as he rolled it up there, and there was like a little hole in the wood. So he put putty in the hole and he repainted the fence. But then as time goes by and the fence weathered, the paint would flake away from those holes, the indentations would catch the light, so like at certain times of the day, at certain conditions, you would see actually where the hammer had been used to pry a nail out. Now this person was thinking, well, I fixed it. I pulled the nail out, so there's no longer a problem. That was a year ago. No one can notice. No one can see. No one remembers. People always remember. They will always remember. You were angry a year ago, and I think you remember that clearly, like it might have happened yesterday. You think that other people don't have that same kind of recall when they become upset? You don't think they think about it over and over and over again until they could call it up whenever? Whenever someone says something angry, whenever they hear a racist comment, they connect that like a terrible string of Christmas lights. All these lights go on through their whole life of remembering every incident where someone said something upsetting to them like that. You become a connection of a lot of lights of misery. And you don't want to light those lights for other people. You don't want to light them for yourself. You don't want to let people that earlier in your life gave you those bad memories continue it on. They're like a virus. They hurt you, you hurt someone else, that person expresses hurt, and that just keeps going. More and more people, someone treats somebody badly when they're a young child or a kid, and then next thing you know, for that whole rest of that guy's life, everyone's getting a taste. And the world doesn't need that. The world doesn't need it, Tinger. You don't need it. You want to live a good life, you want to be happy, you have to take charge. You have to take charge of yourself. You have to take charge of your past. Eventually you have to own the negative feelings you feel. Those are mine. Despite the fact they were given to me by somebody else, and I don't want them, I still have to deal with them. That's right. What do you know about ground pepper, dude? Ground pepper's the best. Get you some.